Today, we're going to dive deep into a case
Okay.
that really, I think, just shook the nation. It really changed the way we think about child safety. And that's, of course, the disappearance of 6-year-old
All right.
Etan Patz back in 1979.
Wow. Yeah.
And it's a story that's just, it's so interwoven with New York City and specifically Soho, which at the time was kind of undergoing this transformation from like an industrial hub to this kind of burgeoning artistic community.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it's that blend of the old and the new that created this really unique atmosphere and one that, at least back then, felt safe enough for children to kind of navigate on their own.
Yeah.
And so that's where Etan's story begins, on what seemed like a pretty ordinary morning.
It's interesting how, with this case, you really have to look at the social landscape. Soho in the late 70s was, talk about a melting pot, you know. It had longtime residents, newcomers.
Right.
It was really evolving.
Right.
And I think that's something that, maybe we don't always think about, but it's crucial to understand that backdrop to fully grasp the impact,
Right.
Yeah.
So on May 25th, 1979, Etan was allowed to walk to the bus stop by himself for the very first time.
Wow.
And, he was clutching $1 for a soda he set off and just filled with the excitement of like this newfound independence, and tragically vanished.
Wow.
And his story, it's not just a true crime mystery. It's really a window into this kind of cultural shift.
It is.
And how much this one case has really left this just enduring mark on society.
Yeah.
So can you kind of like paint a picture for us of that morning? Like, how did things kind of like unfold?
Well, it was like any other day. For the Patz family, Stanley, his father, was working from home. He was a photographer. Julie was preparing breakfast. And Etan, I'm sure just brimming with the thrill of, I can walk to the bus stop by myself.
Right.
Headed out around 8 a.m.
Wow.
And you can imagine, the city was waking up. The sounds of traffic and daily routine. It was just another day for them at that point. And then...
And he just disappears into this...
he just vanished.
Bustling cityscape.
Yeah.
And, when he didn't show up at school, or return home that afternoon, the initial worry must have just quickly escalated into
absolutely
sort of sheer panic.
The moment Etan didn't come home from school, his parents knew something was wrong, and immediately a frantic search. Family, friends, neighbors, everyone's combing the streets, just desperate for any sign. The police, of course, were notified, and
soon these flyers bearing Etan's image, and it was a photo taken by his father.
Wow.
Were plastered. Everywhere throughout the neighborhood, the city, and eventually the nation.
That's right. And that photo with his bright eyes and his gap-toothed smile, it really just became this indelible symbol of this whole tragedy.
It did.
This haunting reminder of a child lost. And it played a pivotal role, I think, in
for sure.
in catapulting Etan's case into the national spotlight, right?
Absolutely. The media coverage was unprecedented. Etan's face was on every newspaper, every television screen. It really transformed the case into a national obsession.
Wow.
And this scrutiny, it was intense. And it put immense pressure on law enforcement to find answers. And I think the frustration of all these dead-end leads only fueled the public's desire for a resolution.
Of course. And, Soho back then, with its diverse population, the changing landscape, it must have.
Absolutely. And given the nature of Soho, you had this mix of industrial spaces, residential buildings, a transient population, pinpointing suspects. Talk about a challenge. The investigation explored several avenues. There was a handyman who had worked in the Patz building. And then a mysterious van spotted in the area. But those early leads, like so many others that emerged, ultimately proved to be dead ends.
Etan's disappearance it just marked this turning point in how missing children cases were handled and how they were perceived. And I think we really need to talk about the emergence of milk carton kids and how Etan's case specifically became such a catalyst for that Yeah. Prior to Etan's disappearance, printing photos of missing children on milk cartons was, not a common practice.
Really?
No, but the scale of the search for Etan, coupled with all the media attention, it led to this innovative, but also heartbreaking approach.
Yeah.
The image of a missing child on something as ubiquitous as a milk carton was a constant reminder, a silent plea for information and vigilance.
And it wasn't just milk cartons. It was... Etan's case really spurred...
It did.
This broader movement advocating for child safety.
Absolutely.
And legislative changes to protect children.
Right.
What were some of the most significant outcomes?
Well, his disappearance ignited this firestorm of advocacy and activism, and it led to the creation of crucial organizations like the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children, or NCMEC as it's known.
Right, NCMEC.
And they're dedicated to preventing child abduction and exploitation.
Yeah.
They really are on the front lines of this issue.
Yeah.
And additionally, the Missing Children's Assistance Act was passed, and that provided, federal funding and support for efforts to locate missing children.
And these were all, these are all advancements born from tragedy.
They are.
That have undoubtedly played a significant role in safeguarding countless children.
Absolutely.
Amidst all of this, Etan's family endured just unimaginable grief and uncertainty. And their decision to remain in their Soho lost, holding on to that hope that he might one day find his way home.
It's amazing.
Really just speaks volumes, I think, about their strength.
It does.
And their just unwavering love for their son.
Yeah.
So can you talk a little bit about the years that followed for the Patz family, and if there were any significant developments or new leads during that time?
Well, the decades following Etan's disappearance, they were marked by this roller coaster of emotions.
Oh, yeah.
For the Patz family.
Yeah.
They lived with the constant ache of not knowing, punctuated by, periodic resurgences of the case in the media.
Yeah.
Each one reopening wounds and reigniting hope.
Right, yeah.
The evidence was constantly reviewed. New leads pursued, yet the mystery of Etan's fate lingered. Then, in a twist that, it really reignited this whole investigation. A convicted child molester named Jose Ramos emerged as a prime suspect.
And what was the nature of Ramos's connection?
Well, Ramos had a connection to someone who was acquainted with Etan. And he made incriminating statements that just, fueled suspicions. Right. But despite this, there was no concrete physical evidence to really solidify his involvement. And this lack of definitive proof, it presented this considerable obstacle for prosecutors seeking to charge him with a crime.
So much suspicion, but not enough to secure a conviction. And the Patz family, driven by this just relentless pursuit of justice for their son, they ultimately took a very bold step. They filed a wrongful death suit against Ramos in 2004. This was a landmark decision, wasn't it?
It was, because a wrongful death suit differs from a criminal trial in that it focuses on establishing responsibility for a death rather than proving guilt beyond a reasonable doubt.
Gotcha.
The judge's ruling in favor of the Patz family, finding Ramos liable for Etan's death, offered a measure of legal closure. But of course, it tragically did not bring their son back.
No, of course not.
And that multi-million-dollar settlement that was awarded to the family remains unpaid to this day.
Years passed, and this case, while it was never truly forgotten, it just seemed
like it,
destined to remain shrouded in mystery. And then in 2012, there was this renewed investigative effort that was launched. And it was fueled by advancements in forensic technology.
For sure.
And it just this unwavering public interest. Did this renewed push yield any breakthroughs?
Well, the investigation took a dramatic turn when a nearby basement was excavated, and this really grips the nation. Hopes were raised that maybe this is it. However, despite all the meticulous efforts, no conclusive evidence was found.
Wow.
And so investigators and the public were left wondering if the truth would ever be revealed.
And just when it seemed like this case might just remain unsolved forever, this completely unexpected development emerged. The confession of Pedro Hernandez, a former bodega worker who had been working in Soho back in 1979.
That was a surprise.
I mean, this was a shocking turn of events, right?
Hernandez's confession, which came through a family member rather than through police pressure, was, I mean, completely out of the blue.
Yeah.
He described luring Etan with the promise of a soda, attacking him in the bodega's basement, and disposing of the body.
So Hernandez's account, it was detailed.
It was.
It provided this seemingly plausible explanation for Etan's disappearance.
It did.
But there was this significant caveat, wasn't there?
But there was a crucial element missing.
Yeah.
Physical evidence.
Right.
Despite the detailed nature of his confession, there was nothing concrete linking him to the crime scene or to Etan's disappearance.
So his confession, while compelling, it really just raised more questions than it answered.
More questions than answered.
And the legal battles that ensued, I mean, they really would delve into these complexities of relying on a confession without that physical proof.
Exactly, especially when the confessor has this history of mental health challenges.
Right, and we're going to explore that fascinating and controversial aspect of the case in our next segment.
Okay.
But for now, we're going to take a quick break.
Sounds good.
So we left off with Pedro Hernandez's shocking confession.
Yeah.
And this like glaring absence of physical evidence. And that really set the stage for this just truly complex legal battle, right?
It was because, I mean, a confession alone isn't always enough.
Right.
And then in this case, you have these added layers of complexity surrounding Hernandez's mental state.
Right. So how do you even begin to...
Right. I mean, how do you prosecute a case that hinges almost entirely on a confession when the accused has this history of mental health issues and cognitive limitations?
Right. And Hernandez's defense team.
Oh, they definitely seized on this. Yeah. They argued that, you know, his confession was, I mean, unreliable, potentially influenced by his mental state, or even coerced.
So it must have been a really difficult task.
It was.
For the prosecution to try to counter those arguments.
Well, the prosecution faced quite a challenge. I mean, they had to convince the jury that Hernandez's confession, while lacking physical corroboration, was genuine and accurate.
Yeah.
They had to kind of walk this line of acknowledging Hernandez's vulnerabilities, but then also emphasizing that, you know, his confession included details that only the perpetrator could have known.
Right. And of course, we can't forget about the shadow of Jose Ramos.
Right. That earlier suspect. He loomed large. I mean, the defense definitely used that to their advantage.
Yeah. How so?
They argued that, you know, the focus on Hernandez was this convenient way for law enforcement to finally close this case, even if it meant potentially convicting the wrong person. So they used those lingering doubts about Ramos to really sow those seeds of reasonable doubt among the jurors.
Right. And it's a reminder that the pursuit of justice isn't always this straightforward path.
No.
I mean, sometimes it's this...
It's a tangled web.
Yeah, it's this tangled web of legal complexities and conflicting evidence and just this weight of public expectation.
For sure.
And in 2015, the first trial resulted in a hung jury.
It did.
They were unable to reach a unanimous verdict. What were some of the key factors that...
I think that hung jury highlighted just these deep divisions among the jurors about the reliability of Hernandez's confession.
Right.
You know, without physical evidence, the case rested heavily on their interpretation of his statements and his mental state.
Yeah.
The defense's arguments regarding coercion and the influence of his mental health clearly resonated with some jurors.
Yeah.
And it prevented that unanimous decision.
So the prosecution, determined to seek justice for Etan and his family, they made the decision
they did
to retry Hernandez in 2016 What was their strategy?
Well, in the second trial, they kind of refined their strategy. They focused more intently on specific details in Hernandez's confession that aligned with known facts about the case.
So trying to
trying to bolster that credibility.
Right.
They also presented testimony from mental health experts to kind of address those concerns about Hernandez's cognitive abilities and the potential for false confessions.
This must have been such a tense time for everybody involved.
Absolutely. The Patz family, I mean, after decades of anguish, they're thrust back into the spotlight. Hernandez is facing the possibility of life behind bars.
Right.
I mean, the weight of history and the emotional intensity. Oh, you could cut it with a knife.
I'm sure you could,
The atmosphere in the courtroom was charged with anticipation and emotion.
Right. And after years of legal battles and decades of uncertainty, a resolution just seemed within reach.
It seemed right there.
This second trial was really a culmination of years of investigation and legal maneuvering.
For sure.
And the relentless pursuit of answers.
Absolutely.
In a case that had just...
That had captivated
the nation. And in February 2017, the jury delivered their verdict.
They did.
Pedro Hernandez was found...
Guilty
of kidnapping and murdering Etan Patz.
It was a pivotal moment.
It was, wasn't it?
I mean, finally, after 37 years, someone was held accountable for Etan's disappearance, while it could never erase the pain and loss that provided a sense of legal closure.
And it reaffirmed that pursuit of justice.
Yeah.
However delayed.
Even with a conviction.
Right.
The shadow of doubt lingered for some.
It did.
The absence of physical evidence and the historical suspicions surrounding Jose Ramos continued to fuel skepticism.
It did.
So how did the public react?
Well, I think the verdict really elicited mixed reactions.
Okay.
For many, it brought a sense of relief and closure. A long-awaited answer to this decades-old mystery.
Right.
However, others remained unconvinced. They pointed to the lack of physical evidence and the lingering questions about Ramos's possible involvement.
So the case, even with this legal resolution, continued to
spark.
To spark debate.
Yeah, debate and speculation.
Hernandez was sentenced to at least 25 years in prison.
But for the Patz family, did the conviction bring
it's
closure?
It's impossible to fully comprehend the depth of grief and loss that they experience. The fact that Etan's body was never recovered only adds to that sorrow. The conviction, while significant, can't erase the pain of the life stolen and the son forever gone.
And Etan's case had this impact.
It did.
It extended far beyond the courtroom.
Absolutely.
It forever changed the way...
it completely changed how we think about child safety and lurking dangers that can exist even in familiar environments.
But can you talk a little bit more about this cultural shift?
Well, before Etan's case, the notion of stranger danger wasn't as prominent in the public consciousness. Children often roamed more freely. And the idea of a child being abducted in broad daylight was almost unthinkable.
Wow.
Etan's disappearance shattered that sense of security, and it forced parents to confront a harsh reality and to become more vigilant about their children's safety.
It was a wake-up call.
It was
a reverberated across the nation,
Absolutely.
Parents grew more cautious. Schools implemented stricter attendance policies and communities established safety protocols to try to safeguard.
Etan's case really served as this catalyst for these widespread changes in how we approach child safety.
And it's a tragic truth.
It is.
That progress often arises from tragedy. And Etan's legacy is forever entwined with the advancements made in protecting children.
The creation of organizations like NCMEC and the implementation of Amber Alerts. Those are direct results of the heightened awareness that was spurred by his case.
And they have undoubtedly
they
have saved countless lives.
They have.
But they also serve as this
They do.
poignant reminder
Right.
of the profound cost.
It's a bittersweet realization, isn't it?
Sure.
Etan's disappearance, while a source of immense pain and loss, ultimately led to a safer world for countless children.
Yeah.
His story is this powerful testament to the impact one child can have on society and the enduring power of turning tragedy into positive change.
Right, but it also raises these important questions about balancing safety with allowing children.
Right. How much freedom do you give them to explore and learn?
Right. Where do we draw that line?
It's a delicate balance.
It is.
And one that every parent and every community grapples with.
And we strive to create these environments that are both safe and enriching for children.
Yeah.
You know, teaching them about potential dangers
without instilling fear and paranoia.
Etan's case really just reminds us that this conversation about child safety, it's ongoing. It requires this constant vigilance.
Vigilance and adaptation.
Yeah. Absolutely. We can't become complacent.
Yeah.
Etan's story highlights the importance of community involvement.
Right.
Open communication.
Right. And proactive measures to protect children.
Yeah, it is.
It's a shared responsibility. And each of us can play a role in creating safer environments for future generations.
Right. And Etan's disappearance also had this significant impact on law enforcement procedures and just the way missing children cases are handled today. So what are some of the key changes that have been?
Well, Etan's disappearance exposed critical flaws in the system for handling missing children cases.
Okay.
I mean, back in 1979, there were no standardized protocols.
Wow.
And the initial response was often slow and localized.
So the sense of urgency that we have today just wasn't there.
It wasn't there.
So how has that initial response changed?
Well, today the first 48 hours are considered the most crucial window of opportunity for locating a missing child.
And so there's this
immediate that
coordinated response.
Right.
Often involving multiple agencies.
Right, like the FBI.
Including the FBI. Yeah. Especially when abduction is suspected.
And the resources and expertise dedicated to missing children's cases have increased significantly.
Dramatically.
Right. And of course, we've got to talk about the advancements in forensic technology and digital tracking and location networks.
I mean, the tools available to law enforcement today are light years ahead of what was available in 1979.
Right.
You know, you've got DNA analysis, video surveillance, social media tracking, rapid communication networks.
Right. And these have significantly enhanced their ability to for sure.
Gather evidence. Yeah. Identify suspects. And locate missing children.
Missing children.
And all of these advancements, while they're born from tragedy, have undoubtedly increased the chances of bringing missing children home safely. And, you know, amidst all of these system-wide improvements, there's this one element of Etan's story that I just find so poignant. And it's the fact that his parents chose to remain in their Soho loft. Holding on to that hope.
That hope.
That he might one day.
Find
his way back to them.
Right. It's a testament to the enduring power of hope, isn't it? I mean, even in the face of unimaginable loss and uncertainty, the Patz family, they clung to that sliver of hope.
Refusing to give up on the possibility that Etan might return.
And their decision to stay.
In their loft.
In their loft.
The place that was filled with memories of their son.
Right.
It speaks volumes about their unwavering love and the depth of their grief.
That's a heartbreaking reminder that some wounds just never truly heal.
No.
And that even in the face of adversity, hope can provide a lifeline, a source of strength to endure the unbearable.
Etan's disappearance, while this tragedy that shook a nation also revealed the profound resilience of the human spirit and his parents.
Stanley and Julie?
Yeah, Stanley and Julie Bowsitz.
They became such, they were powerful advocates.
Powerful advocates for change. And they really ensured that their son's story wasn't...
Yeah, that it wasn't just a sad footnote.
Yeah, not just a sad footnote,
but a catalyst for a safer world for children.
And their tireless advocacy.
Yeah, their unwavering commitment to keeping Etan's memory alive and their instrumental role in pushing for legislative changes. I mean, they left an indelible mark on how we approach child safety.
It's an inspiring reminder.
It is.
That even in the darkest of times, the human spirit can find a way to shine a light.
It can.
To create meaning out of loss.
Yeah.
And to make the world a better place.
A better place.
For others.
For others.
And we'll be back after a short break.
Okay.
To delve deeper into some of the broader implications of Etan's case, and explore what we can all learn from this tragic event. We've really covered a lot of ground here.
Yeah,
we have, the intricate details of the investigation, the twists and turns of the legal battle, and these profound cultural shifts that really stemmed from Etan's disappearance.
Absolutely.
But now I'd like to kind of shift our focus to the bigger picture.
Yeah.
What are like the key takeaways?
Well, I think Etan's case, while undeniably tragic, serves as this powerful reminder of the progress we've made in protecting children, the advancements in law enforcement procedures, the establishment of organizations like NCMEC, and the implementation of measures like Amber Alerts.
Right.
I mean, those are all part of his legacy.
You mentioned earlier the critical importance of the first 48 hours in a missing child case.
Absolutely.
And that sense of urgency just wasn't there back in 79.
Not at all.
So can you kind of elaborate on how that initial response has changed and what our listeners should know if they ever find themselves facing such a heartbreaking situation?
Well, the first 48 hours are absolutely crucial in a missing child case. Today, the response is immediate and coordinated. Law enforcement agencies, often including the FBI, are mobilized quickly, especially when abduction is suspected. Technology plays a vital role. I mean, you've got DNA analysis, video surveillance, digital tracking. All of these are deployed to gather evidence and pursue leads.
So time really is of the essence. Immediate reporting is paramount. And just knowing that those resources are available must offer some solace even in the midst of such a crisis.
Exactly. The system is designed to act swiftly and decisively, and every second counts. And public awareness is also critical. Sharing information quickly through social media and community networks can really impact the outcome of a search.
I mean, it's such a stark contrast to the way things were handled back then.
Oh, yeah.
Etan's case forced this.
It did. It forced
the system-wide change.
The system-wide change.
And while that progress came at a tremendous cost,
it did.
It's undoubtedly saved countless lives.
Countless lives.
And speaking of change, we can't overlook the just incredible resilience of the Patz family.
The Patz family,
Their decades-long advocacy. Their unwavering determination to keep Etan's memory alive. And their instrumental role.
I mean, they were instrumental in shaping legislation. I mean, they left an indelible mark on the world.
Stanley and Julie Patz. They channeled their grief.
They did.
Into action, becoming these powerful voices.
Powerful voices.
For change.
For change.
They ensured that Etan's story wasn't just this...
it wasn't just this tragic tale.
Tragic tale.
But a forward.
For good.
For good.
A catalyst for a safer world for children.
And one detail that continues to resonate with me is their decision
to stay.
To stay in their Soho loft.
Yeah, in their loft.
Holding on to that hope.
Right, that hope.
That Etan might one day.
That he might one day.
And find his way back home.
Yeah.
It speaks volumes.
It does. It really does.
About the depth of their love and the power of hope.
In the power of hope.
Even in the face.
Even in the face of unimaginable loss.
Yeah, their choice to remain in that space.
Yeah, ignites
filled with memories of highlights the complexities of grief.
Yeah.
And the enduring strength of the human spirit.
Right. In Etan Hand's case, it really sparked this nationwide conversation about child safety. It forced us to confront.
Right, to confront.
Yeah, uncomfortable truths.
Uncomfortable truths.
And reevaluate how we protect our most vulnerable citizens.
Absolutely.
And while systems and awareness have improved radically,
they have.
Child safety remains this ongoing responsibility.
Absolutely. We can't afford to become complacent. We have to remain vigilant, engaged in our communities, and proactive in implementing and supporting measures that safeguard children.
So educating children.
Right, educating children.
About potential dangers. Fostering open communication.
Absolutely.
And establishing safe environments.
Those are crucial steps preventing future tragedies.
It's a collective effort.
It is.
And every individual.
Every individual can contribute.
You can contribute.
Yeah. To creating a safer world.
Yeah, to creating a safer world for children.
And children, yeah.
Etan's story serves as this potent reminder of the fragility of life.
Yeah.
And the enduring impact that one child can have on the world.
Yeah, his case, while heartbreaking, has left this enduring legacy.
Right.
The advancements in law enforcement, the heightened awareness, and the countless lives touched by the advocacy of his parents.
Yeah.
I mean, those are all testaments to the power of turning tragedy into positive change.
Etan's story is really this.
It is
a call to action.
A call to action.
It urges us to remain vigilant.
Yeah.
Compassionate. And dedicated to protecting.
Absolutely.
The most vulnerable among us.
The vulnerable.
This deep dive into the disappearance of Etan Patz has been incredibly insightful.
It has.
I mean, it's shed light on a case that continues to resonate with all of us today.
Absolutely.
And it's a reminder that while we've made significant progress,
we have.
The fight to protect children is far from over.
Far from over.
So I encourage you to reflect on the lessons that we've discussed.
Absolutely.
To stay informed about child safety measures.
Right.
And to really consider what role you can play. In creating a safer world for future generations.
For future generations.
Remember, every child deserves a chance.
They do.
To live a life free from fear.
Absolutely.
And it's up to all of us to make that a reality.
That's right.
Thanks for joining us for this deep dive.
It was my pleasure. Thanks for having me.